It is Dusty Thunder, and I have a story for you. Title of this one is Am I the Astronaut for Not Letting My In-Laws See My Daughter When She Was Born? Oh, shitballs. For context, I, 22 female, had my first daughter when I was 21. Being a mother has always been a dream of mine, so once my husband, 26 male, got married, we found out 2 weeks later I was pregnant. We always planned our future the moment we got together. After sharing the news with everyone was so supportive and happy for us. My entire pregnancy was going very well, and my husband and I discussed our birth plan. The main thing I wanted was for sure, and nothing was going to change, that was in the delivery room, my mother and my husband would be the ones there. I also did not want anyone in the waiting room because I don't like people seeing me when I'm weak. And also, I'm very introverted. He told me that doesn't seem fair because everyone else in his family was there for everyone's pregnancy. My in-laws, in combined, have over 12 kids. I told him I understand that they always want to be there for every special moment, but this was my pregnancy, our first kid, and I wanted to do it this way. He eventually understood why I felt that way and agreed on our birth plan. After my daughter was born, I wanted to take precautionary measures and didn't want everyone to be around our daughter for about 6 weeks because I wanted to adjust to this new journey and really take it all in with my husband. The first 2 weeks we stayed at my mother's house. My 4 other siblings lived there as well, but they knew to give me space so I can adjust to this. They respected that. My husband's family, not so much. In their family group chat, they said it was very rude and unfair at the fact that we didn't tell them when I went into labor so they could go to the hospital and how they couldn't see the baby right away. My husband hesitated to show me the messages, but showed me anyway. I started crying because I didn't want this new journey to start this way. My husband ignored them and said not to worry about them. Now we live on my in-laws' property and I live near some of my husband's sisters. Our daughter is now 11 months old and they continue to make jokes about how I made them wait months to see her. They honestly don't see her much either way, only once a week at most. I don't know what was wrong with what I wanted to do, so I ask y'all, was I wrong to do this? Am I the astronaut? A note here, OP mentioned in the comments that it didn't end up being 6 weeks, but 2 weeks before the in-laws got to see the baby. 2 weeks. So having to wait 2 weeks. Now, okay, this in my opinion is like a culture collision, right? This is a collision of cultures where OP, your family has this way of approaching this and this way of treating this and being more selective and giving space and easing in, right? But your partner's family does things radically differently. And personally, I think this comes down to you're the one going through this. Ultimately, you get to make the decision. Ideally, it is something that you two agree upon and have a unified approach to. I feel like it's also on him to convey that message and convey that approach to try to prevent some of the bullshit that's popping up and some of the cattiness. So communicate that to your respective families, and I think everybody's going to be fine. The fact that there's a bunch of cattiness going on here, they're being deviated away from what they know and what everyone else has done. So they had an expectation going into this. I feel like your partner failed to communicate your plan there, or maybe they're just shitty. I don't feel like you're the asshole here, but Tater, what do you think? Come on up, Tater. Can we get some more feedback? You got one more serving of feedback in you. I know it. Come on now. So do you feel like I'm headed in the right direction here where I feel like it's ultimately on him to communicate and handle that?
I mean, let's just go. She said it only lasted 2 weeks. They saw the baby after 2 weeks. But I mean, at the end of the day, whether or not the mom is the patient. The mom gets to decide if she wants people at the hospital when she's in labor and giving birth, and that is her choice. And I feel like anyone on either side of the family has to respect what the mom wants in that moment. It's especially for a first child. Navy was born, kind of during COVID, and they didn't allow
those COVID babies are different.
They didn't allow anyone to wait, in the waiting room or to come in and visit. And
I had a T-shirt.
I was fine with that.
That said, Baby Storm's designated person.
Support person, yeah.
Support person, yeah.
But there was that was fine with me, honestly, because I feel like I recovered so much. Like by the time we went home, I was recovered so much better than when I had, 20 people filing through to see, after I had Ava. And it felt like, so I understand OP and I understand why she wants this. And it is very hard. And I think, and it does sound like her husband supported her and understood. He eventually came around and was like, I get it. but the family treating her like that because she has different wishes than what they've been used to. Like, you had 12 kids, and it sounds like they've been around like a block with babies and births and labors and all of those things, and to be shitty because one of your children or siblings doesn't want you there for a couple weeks, like that's just mean.
But the other side of that is that, yeah, as blended, they got their way 12 times.
Yeah.
And for now, someone to come along and be like, no.
Right.
They're like,
yeah,
excuse me?
I understand that they had things a certain way, but not everybody is the same person. And how many of those were daughters and how many of those were sons? That's what I would want to know, because I think it's different. Obviously, if you're the mom of a daughter, like, you're going to have a different experience when it comes to the birth. With my first child, my mom was with me, and I would never change that for the world. I was so happy to have her there, and with Ava's dad was there, and that meant something to me, and I needed her support, and I was young, and she chose to have her mom there, and that's her choice. Like, she wanted that extra support, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But shaming someone for wanting labor and delivery to go a certain way is just shitty human behavior, in my opinion.
I think it's probably bigger than that for this family. I think it's going to become, we're probably going to hear a lot more from this OP about breaking family tradition and their opposition to it, right? So I think you've got a lot of that going on here. I still go back to your partner here, because although he did concede and understood, finally, there's a big difference between understanding and advocating. And I think while he did understand, he was against it in the beginning because he knew what was going to happen with his family. He knew what was going to happen. So that's when the need for him to be an advocate for your family.
Yeah, I understand that. Yes, I agree.
That's where it's so much needed here. So and it still goes back to him. This whole journey they're going to go through with the fighting against what's the word I'm looking for? Tradition. Fighting against tradition and breaking from it, and rebelling. Like, it's going to be a journey.
Krista Museum Girl said that some of those 12 would have done it differently if allowed. And I think that's a great point, where how much did they want to set boundaries, but those were overstepped. Yep. And that's why I said I'd love to know the like mom to son or daughter to son ratio in that family.
That would be
I think it would be interesting. But yeah, I think she's not the asshole, 100%. And I think that the family needs to back off and let people give birth the way they want. The fact that we even have to say that is a weird thing. But yeah just let people, birth and deliver their children how they choose, and back the fuck off.